Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to ExA Season 8. It's been a while, but X1 is back at long last. Last week we couldn't race, unfortunately, due to a lack of attendees. But we're back in business, and as you can see, we are now technically in round number 9, which is actually round number 7. As we've skipped several of them, we have arrived at long last in Mexico here on April 16th, 2025. With me tonight in the commentators box, as per usual, is our good man, Joseph Black. How are you?
Good. Very, very happy to be getting EXA action and X1 action, particularly, once again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, it's been a little while. I've got the driver standings for you lot as well. Just a screenshot from the official graphic right here with Luca Rapassa leading at the moment by a 5-point gap to Kian Goedendorp. However, the thing is, Luca is not racing and Kian is. So that means Kian has the perfect opportunity tonight to grab the championship lead. And with the top 15 getting points, Joseph, I think it's almost too easy for him, isn't it?
I think so. It's it's going to be very close towards the end of the season. There's only 2 rounds left, and the top 2. I think they've been at it all season long, and the racing has been hard but very fair whenever the two have come together on circuit. So we'll have to wait and see how it all ends up going. But we head to the Mexican Grand Prix circuit, and I think the best place to be in Mexico, at least when you're in the race, tend to be second place, doesn't it?
Second or third, isn't it? I mean, we've seen in real life Max Verstappen from P3 just passing both Mercedes, just heading into turn 1, all the way into the lead and never looked back. Of course, never looking back is very unlikely to happen when all the cars are pretty much equal, just depending on the setups the drivers use. But yeah, second or third, I think you're absolutely right. It's a brilliant place to start, but it never hurts for your ego to get pole position. So I'm sure they're going to try hard.
I'm sure they will. I mean, it's just they're all going to be scrapping it out for that pole position. They're not going to try and get that second place, but I think some as well might be trying to do last to firsts. If you've kept an eye out on the EXA socials, you'll have spotted Angelo D'Ortenzio's last to first highlights come out just before this race to get you warmed up for EXA action. But now I think we have a couple of drivers who are trying to do the same thing, Goedendorp and Rallieli, retiring from the session. They'll be trying to start from the back. So will D'Ortenzio.
He's going to try again.
He's going to try again and do exactly what he did in Britain.
Let's see if he can do that. And Kian, of course, I'm not sure why he's decided to do it, but he's taking a little bit of a risk here with the championship potentially getting into his hands after tonight. Starting from the back of the field right now, it does look like he's going to start from last, as he's currently in 19th, only Campbell Adams behind him, but he's currently on an outlap. It was a little bit like a beehive, the pit lane, a few moments ago. It was all quiet, and then all of a sudden, everybody came out pretty much at the same time with one of the Sauber cars, that is Thomas Lang, in the lead of a whole slew of them, who are going to start a hot lap very, very soon indeed. Also, a little side note, this is my first time streaming to the EXA channels, to both YouTube and Twitch, I believe, and it looks like Rowley just confirmed Twitch is sounding good, and I'm hoping YouTube is as well. I do not have the YouTube live chat open, but I do have the Twitch one open. So, hi Billy, welcome to the stream. Oh, looks like Thomas Lang already hit a little bit of the track there as he comes around the final quarter, starts his hot lap right now. Joseph, take us away.
Well, just to confirm there that YouTube is sounding good, I'll keep an eye on that one, and then maybe we can keep it running nice and smoothly. But yes, this is Thomas Lang with the long run down to turn number 1, longest run down to turn 1 on the entire Formula 1 calendar, and then big heavy braking zone into the chicane for turns 1, 2 and 3 before coming out onto the exit and getting some more DRS. If you're in the DRS in the final corner in the stadium section, you'll get DRS for both of those zones, which will gain you a lot of time. Now heading through the second chicane on the circuit, just trying to make sure that you make it well through there, and there could be a couple of dives made into those braking zones. Now coming out into sector number 3 and the end of sector number 2, and this may as well be a section all in itself. S's jinking left and right, different braking zones, different lifting zones, some not even braking zones at all for some of these drivers, and then coming down now to the stadium section, which is, of course, the most notable part of the Mexican Grand Prix circuit. Coming out now of that chicane, it's once again a heavy braking zone into the final corner. Big send that if you were to make a move there. And now down to the line, and Thomas Lang setting us off with a 112.8. Not a bad lap there, as Jacob Stroh goes in 5 tenths slower. Alo goes in 3 tenths slower. So Thomas Lang, 112.8. Not a bad start at all.
It's quite impressive so far as the only driver to do it. Tom Roberts slots in behind him with a 30.001. But there goes Marcel Biega and the Mercedes with a 12.856. Only about 3/100ths of a second quicker than Thomas Lang. So the competition once again looking like it's quite close. Ryan Grob then coming across the line, 13.281. Followed by one of the Alpines, I believe that was Damien Carril. It was 12.9, the third driver to go into the 1 minute 12s right there. Sam Arding then, another Dutchman, going into P4, also just under the 1 minute 13 mark. Alexi Cavero has slotted into P6 at the moment, trying to find somebody else who he can follow. Finn Geerts, one of the reserve drivers tonight in the McLaren. Another Dutchman, a lot of Dutchmen here I couldn't help but notice in the EXA League, including myself, of course. Going through the stadium section right now with only turns 16 and 17 to go. So let's see what he can put on the board compared to his fellow countrymen. Across the line he goes, 13.5, so far the slowest of the lot, but of course still a lot of time to cover for the drivers here in qualifying. 13 minutes and 42 seconds to be precise. Thomas Lang is already back in, several others are coming back out again, including Lang's teammate Lucas Beisner, who is going to try and find some time here on track.
Yeah, and well, if he matches his teammate, he'll be doing pretty well at the moment. So we've got a couple of newer drivers up at the top. Damien Curiel up into 3rd place, making his debut, the Thomas Enger Sim driver. He's been working a lot with me, which is exactly why he's right up there. But no, he's doing well at the moment. Campbell Adams making the switch over to PGR within the last few days. He's making, I think, his debut, actually, with that PGR name next to his. But this is Lucas Beisner, the TF10 driver, heading through the final couple of corners, trying to get the tyres warmed up. I mean, the second sector really does help you get those tyres warmed up, just preparing you for your lap, as it's the heavy turns that you get to do. And now into the final couple of corners, you just get to warm those brakes up as well. So this track is very easy to get yourself in the correct conditions to set a very strong lap, and Lucas Beisner is going to try and do exactly that.
Here he goes, the second Sauber we're following coincidentally tonight. Let's see, as you said, if he can get anywhere close to Thomas Lang, which is of course his teammate. Campbell Adams is about to start his hot lap as well. You can see several other drivers coming out of the pit lane as this man, Lucas Beisner, heads into turn 1, followed by turn 2 straight away, nicely cutting on the apexes right there, not out of the white line, so the lap is still pretty much valid. Coming towards the end of the first sector, headed towards turn 4 and 5. The first sector is actually a 27.930. Purple, according to the game, but as usual, take it with a grain of salt, because we do not have a lot of comparative materials yet. So let's see then, a tricky bit right here, turns 5 and 6. Let's see if he got those right. Yes, he certainly did. Then the twisty section here in sector number 2. Flat out wherever you can, as much of the curb as possible, and preferably a little bit over it, but it looks like flat out for Lucas Beisner right here. DRS opened for the 3rd time on round this track, headed towards turn number 12, 54, sorry. 0.944 in sector number 2. Then, of course, the famous stadium section. A bit of a lock-up from our point of view, then past the pole that has been destroyed by his teammate, onto the final 2 corners around the pit entry lane, and there he goes across the line. As much of the corner to be cut as possible, slots into P8 with a 13.2, which is about 4 tenths away from pole position, but only, quote-unquote, good enough for P8.
Yeah, and well, the field's close at the moment. Only 4 tenths off of that pole position. Campbell Adams coming around the final couple of corners, hoping to get rid of his wheel issues from Silverstone. But up to the line he comes. And he sets a 12.7, which is the quickest time by almost a tenth of a second. Campbell Adams there, really laying down a gauntlet.
He has definitely gotten rid of those issues, hasn't he? I mean, that's impressive. Straight out of the pit lane and going fast as overall. Of course, the track has been evolving a little bit. We'll have to take that into account and watch Marcel and Thomas's lap times, along with the other 1 minute 12 drivers, to see what they can do. We were watching Giovanni Galeotto at the moment in the Aston Martin, the only driver of those who haven't retired who hasn't set the lap time as he comes around the final corner. Might have made a mistake somewhere. At the moment, only a 1 minute 15.9, so he's going to try again, I'd say, because he's currently going pretty fast still. No battery light flashing, meaning he's going to go around for another time. on the same set of tires. Trying to find somebody else on a hot lap. I believe one of the Red Bulls around the final corner right there was Louis Welch. His teammate is about to finish his hot lap, I'd say. Trying to find him in the standings, but there he is. Tom Roberts, P6, heading back into the pit box. Currently sitting in P6, just ahead of Alexi Cavero. One of Williams' cars then about to come. Whoa, I'm watching Sam Arding cutting a lot of corners right there in Sector 2. That is Abdullah's teammate, who's just gone back into the pit lane as well. So Sam Arding also abandoned his lap as he goes very wide into the stadium section 2. There's Marcel Biega. He goes a little bit faster, only a little bit faster than Campbell Adams. But back in provisional pole he goes for the time being. So Thomas Lang, currently in the middle sector, hasn't improved. He's staying at the moment at a 1 minute 12.8. P3 is the best he can manage so far. And let's see what he can do later down the line.
Yes, I think there's a lot of time on offer for these drivers here around the Mexican Grand Prix circuit, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And, well, I think we will be getting more drivers into the 112.7s. Giovanni Galeotto, 16.7. Not quite, although he was only 1 digit off as it stands. But yeah, the second runs for a lot of these drivers have been completed or are in progression. Louis Welch going up to the front row with a 112.736, just 4 thousandths off of Marcel Biega at the top. So there is a lot of time to find, and Louis Welch just needs a little bit more if he wants to challenge the Mercedes on top. At the moment, I think we've got Matteo Blotto and Tim Tornimo, as well as Giovanni Galeotto, who are getting ready for their laps. Bijsner, Strode, and Geerts as well. Or is it Geerts on their
just
runs?
like Goedendorp.
Oh, no way I've nailed that first time. Fair enough.
Excellent.
But, yeah, we've got 8 minutes left. I'm learning, Rob. I'm learning.
Very good indeed. Yeah, Giovanni, I can't help but notice he's now attempting a third one, I think, on the same set of tires. He's in a 1 minute 15, 1 minute 16. I'm not sure what his plan is at the moment. He's, again, a half a second slower than his best attempt, which was his first try. So I'm not sure what's going on with Giovanni at the moment. I'd say he's going to head back into the pit lane right now, because these tires must be pretty much shot. No, he's going to go round again. It's going to be another 1 minute 16 there. 6/10 of his previous lap time. What's going on there? Seems to be struggling around this track somehow.
Yeah, I think he might be taking this as a practice session. Just then he can start at the
that would make more sense.
at the back with both the Haas drivers and Deltenzier and Goedendorp as well.
I see. That means he'll be starting from P16 if he wants to be going for that type of race tonight, along with the others who have retired already. Let's see, both Haas drivers have retired as well. So they're going to have a big challenge ahead of them for the Constructors' Championship especially, with both cars out already. On purpose, of course, which it's always nice to see these drivers try a bit of a challenge for themselves, especially if they've got a championship to win, in the case of Kian Goedendorp. Anyway, we're going to have to find some drivers on the lap time at the moment, trying to find several. Sam Arling, I believe, is on one, as is Damien Carril. There's a few corners ahead of the Williams driver as Sam Arling goes out of turn number 3 onto the second straight past one of the Mercedes cars. Of course, as usual, as you can see, ghosting is on. 44 milliseconds quicker there for the Dutchman in the Williams in sector number 1. So at the moment, faster than his fellow countryman Damien Carril, who is currently in sector number 2. Then, once again, the twisty section, as I somehow poke myself in the eye, which is not very helpful. And he invalidates the lap right there. That means this is the end of the run for him. But there's still 6 minutes to go, meaning he will get another shot later down the line. Same goes for Damien, by the way. Invalidated too. So, let's see anyone else on a hot lap at the moment. Is it Tom Roberts? He definitely is on a hot lap too, but somebody else closer to the finish line. I think Abdullah is about to get it done as well. He's only 43 milliseconds up and validates in pretty much the last corner. Decides to finish his lap still. Would have been a 1 minute 13.231, which would have meant he would have improved to only P13.
Yes, and well, that's not ideal. P13 currently held by Ryan Grobu comes up to the line. Can he improve on that? Yes, he can, but he can't improve enough to get out of that 13th spot. Instead, he just moves to within 0.04 of a second of Jacob Strode as Thomas Lang improves. Identical lap time between himself and Campbell Adams for that third place. So, well, we saw it in Britain and we're seeing it once again. The mid runs, I believe the last one was actually at the start of the session, but the middle runs seeing identical lap times once again. So incredible stuff here as well. We're just proving once again that some of the top drivers are just so closely matched on pace. And as you said, that it's not exactly like they'll have an opportunity to break away because, well, everybody is so tightly matched at the moment. First and second split by just 4,000. Third and fourth split by nothing.
That's incredible. I'm speaking of third. That was Campbell Adams. You saw him mess up in the stadium section, nearly losing control of his car, nearly plowing into the wall. That was quite scary to see. But he's still there and still in P3 for the time being. Thomas Lang, of course, having set the lap time a little bit later than he did. And once again, Marcel Villegas is absolutely on fire tonight. He improves, going into provisional pole position, only 5 milliseconds now, ahead of Louis Welch in the Red Bull, who is currently sitting in P number 2. But I believe Louis is on a hot lap 2. He's currently in sector 2, about to finish it. DRS wide open, as you can see right there. Is he gonna go faster? He is, and by quite the margin, well over a tenth quicker, as he goes too wide in the stadium section, and that is his round over. That is a big shame. That would have been a massive improvement there for the Red Bull driver, but it is not meant to be. Not yet, at least, but he's gonna try. No, never mind, he's not gonna finish his hot lap, because that would have meant it would not have enough time anymore to do another run, which is the wise decision indeed. Back in the pit box, try again.
Yeah, and I think that's the case for a lot of these drivers. It'll be preparing themselves for their final runs. Matteo Blotto is going to struggle on time, I think, to get to the line. I think it's going to be a very, very tight finish for the Mercedes, potentially both Mercedes, depending on how long Marcel Biega takes to come into the pit lane as well. Because don't forget, they will be wheeled in by the same pit crew. And so Matteo Blotto, he'll have an extra, I don't know, depending on when he comes into the pits, extra 5-10 seconds just being wheeled into the pit lane. So it's going to be very close for the Italian as to whether he's going to be able to make it into the pit lane. But yeah, 3 minutes left in the session, and we will get our final runs. There's a Ferrari coming out of the pits who will be the first one to set that time. It's either Alexi Cavero or Tim Tornimo. We'll have to see who it is, as Matteo Blotto does actually improve, but of course he invalidated and straight-lined the S's, so he didn't end up improving on that time. But he's into the pits without too much trouble in the end, and the Mercedes is going to prepare himself for that final run. It was Alexi Cavero, by the way, who'll be setting us off for these final runs and setting us off for these final lap times. He sits in 11th at the moment, 0.03 of a second off Finn Geerts, ahead of Finn Geerts even. I'm getting used to it. And 2.5 hundredths ahead of Jacob Strode, just behind. But only 0.4 off of Marcel Biega in that pole position. So there's a lot of opportunities for these drivers, if they can find enough time in some of these sectors to really go through. I mean, because of the lobby restarts that we have, it has its disadvantages, but it has its advantages as well. For these drivers, the advantage is that they are able to put on a new setup after qualifying, so they can really go flat out here and really try and do time trial laps. So it means that we'll be seeing some of these drivers go ever faster and much quicker than you would see in a normal qualifying session. Cavero around the final corner to start our final runs.
Yes, he does. The Finn in the Ferrari. There he goes. The one final run. This is the one that properly counts. We're going to be on board with him for this lap in the bright red Ferrari, as he's gonna head towards turn 1. It's still a little while away before he gets there. You can see everybody else is flooding out of the pit lane with so little time remaining. They're gonna be cutting it very short indeed. Alexi, though, is well in time, but he does manage to invalidate his lap right out of turn 3. That is very unfortunate, but the good news potentially for him is he might just have enough time to get the other run in, but that means his tires will be slightly more worn. But still, better than nothing at all. So, we swap our attention for a potential pole sitter right here. That is, of course, Thomas Lang, the man we watched on his first attempt at the start of qualifying. We're watching again, as previously he managed to get the exact same lap time as Campbell Adams. Sector 1 then. Improvement right there? No, not yet. Only 3/100ths above his previous lap time. So still a little bit of hope for him to find the extra time in sectors 2 and 3. Of course, those are the sectors with the most difficult corners and where you can, I'd say, find the most lap time around this track. You can see there the Williams in a hurry, cutting all the corners wherever possible. Thankfully, he's not in the way of Thomas Lang, not distracting him at all as he flies through Sector 2, through the S section. And then at the end of the second sector, it's a 2/100ths improvement. He gained half a tenth there through Sector 2. That means keep it within the white lines here in the stadium section. And then you might find just 1 or 2 positions, depending on how well he does in the final sector. 4/100ths of a second is enough. 44 milliseconds to be precise. Should be enough for provisional pole. Can he do that? Yes, he can! By 2 milliseconds ahead of Marcel Biega, who's just started his hot lap. So whoever is close right now, Lou Welch, he's currently up on his own time. Did he find something in the final sector? He did not. Stays in 3rd place. Tim Tornimo does go into P4 ahead of Campbell Adams. Lucas Beisner improves to P number 6. All are doing quite well indeed. We're waiting for another driver. Campbell Adams. Can he go to the front of the field like he did at the start? Yes, he can. 1 minute 12.6. He did it even in his final attempt. He messed up the previous one, but he did well on this one. His teammate Finn Geerts, he does go across the line as well. Where does he improve to? No, he stays in P10. One of the Alpines then, Damien Carril, finishes in P number 7. Then the Aston Martin of, who was that? Ryan Grubb improves to P number 10 as well. Then we're just waiting for a few more drivers. Alexi Coveros crashed into the pit entry right there. He's still going, but that's qualifying over for him for sure. Yellow flag on the main straight. Marcel Biega cannot improve and will have to start from P3, but we do know that might actually be the best position to start from.
As we mentioned before, yeah, Max Verstappen blasting past the top few in the longest run down to turn number 1 in the calendar. And we have just the same thing today with all these drivers so close together. Campbell Adams, 1:12.6, incredible lap time from him. And then Lang, Biega, Welch and Tornimo within a tenth of him, showing that this really is the peak of performance. And then Lucas Beisner just a tenth off with Sam Arling, a tenth off him. Then Damien Curiel, Tom Roberts and Ryan Grob rounding out the top 10. Abdullah Balaish takes P11 with Finn Geerts in P12. Matteo Blotto in 13th. 14th for Alexi Cavero. Jacob Strode taking the last of the qualifiers with Giovanni Gariotto. Pasquale Ranieri, TF10's Brando, Angelo Del Tenzio and Kian Goodendorp not setting valid. Or they set, one of them set a lap time, but it wasn't a good lap time in any way, shape or form. We will head now to a lobby restart, and then we will head to race day here in ExA X1. So glad to be getting action here in Mexico. And it looks like it's going to be a very, very, very good day.
It's very promising, and more importantly, the safety car, as far as I know, is off. So that means, yes, they can be aggressive, but it comes at a big risk, because if you fall behind the field without a safety car, it's going to be extremely difficult to come back to the rest, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially because there is no safety car. I mean, if you drop out of that 1 second gap, that is devastating for pretty much anything that you want to do that day. It will be called off and it will be cancelled, and it means that you will not be able to get close enough to the cars back in front. It's so crucial you stay within that DRS, and that is the aim of the game.
Exactly. Campbell Adams, in the meanwhile, saying in the Discord that he didn't have any practice at all for Mexico. So that's if that is true, that's seriously impressive. As you can see here, the tentative start, of course, this is not the real one, because otherwise racing would be quite boring with ghosting being on. We like some action, we like some drama, we like some spectacle from these drivers as they're all heading towards disaster. Who is going to go straight? Who's actually going to go make the corner? Campbell Adams has decided to get a little bit of practice in the non-official start right here. But let's hope they retire quickly so the lobby can be reset. I believe they are staying in this one, hoping that there's no desync happening when the race actually starts. So then, yeah, like you said, should be a brilliant one. Staying within DRS is absolutely crucial. Let's hope they can manage to do that. But from what I've seen, in terms of lap times at least, they're all very close together. So yeah, it should definitely be possible, even without a safety car. Strategy, medium to hard, hard to medium. I think that's a pretty normal thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's all we're really going to see today, that strategy, or inversed. It's when they come into the pits, which I think will be the most interesting part of it, with, I think, the undercut being pretty strong as per usual, but as is equally in some circuits the overcut. So it's down to the individual circuit, down to the individual conditions, and with safety car being off, there's no point gambling for one, because if you do that, then you'll be massively off the pack. I do think as well that could encourage more retirements from the drivers, in fact, as I think they will be just they'll drop off the pack and they'll feel as though that is it. So there are positives to it. There are also negatives. Losing that DRS is so crucial around this circuit. I think that is going to be what will decide this race today.
Exactly. A few weeks ago in Silverstone, we saw a lot of action, of course, due to the rain as well. And many drivers trying to get as much ahead as possible from the other drivers. Angelo D'Ortenzio took the biggest benefit of them all, drove from last place all the way up to P1 in a brilliant and pretty much awe-inspiring race from him, I'd say, which does remind me to show you the standings once more. We can find Angelo D'Ortenzio currently sitting in P4, 30 points away from championship leader Luca Ripasa. So for him, there's every opportunity as well to get another good result in. And that would mean he could get ever closer to the championship leader, who I remind you is not racing. Same goes for Top in the third position right there. The other Williams driver on 46 points at the moment. Not with us tonight either. I believe Liam Stevens is missing as well. A lot of top drivers at the moment I can see are not present in this race. Tom Roberts and Kian from the top 8 are the only drivers present. Louis Welch as well. Gabor Xontos missing. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers absent. Pretty much high up there, aren't they?
Yeah, and that could just open up the opportunity for a lot of new drivers to set their lap times and, well, really just make their name. I mean, Finn Geerts, who else is new today? We've got Grob, who comes in occasionally, does not come in every single week. Giovanni Galliotto as well, but we've got a number of drivers who can really set the tone and try to prove themselves for a new for the new X1 grid, because of course we're coming to the end of the season. F1 25 is just around the corner now. It's only a month and a half away, so the drivers will be trying to put themselves in the best possible stead to be chosen to race in X1 next season. Of course, this being the peak of EXA you've got Matteo Blotto racing today, for example, Damien Curiel as well. Those four, I think it is potentially, Brando's raced before. So it's those four making their debuts in Galliotto, Geerts, Curiel, and Matteo Blotto. So that's 5 drivers making completely new starts in this league, and will be searching for the best possible opportunity to make themselves available for the next season. So not only do the drivers up the top need to think about the points, drivers down the bottom need to think about their seats as well.
Yeah, the reputation pretty much for the top of the table here in EXA. A bit of a proving ground, I'd say, for those who have joined late in the season and trying to make a bit of a name for themselves, trying to get noticed perhaps by some of the esports teams. Finn Geerts, of course, being part of AMS already. Campbell Adams having joined PGR, and several other familiar esport team names. We can see FVR, for example, quite well represented by Thomas Lang, Marcel Biega. Oops, sorry, I just switched screen right there. Who else do we have in here? Yeah, that's the 3. And Jacob Strode, he's actually doubting whether he's going to race tonight because he's having some issues apparently. I'm trying to find what issues he was talking about in the Discord.
He was having frame rate drops in qualifying.
Yeah, that's not something you want, because this game somehow depends a lot of frame rates. And if you're getting a little bit less of those, it will definitely affect your performance, especially in qualifying where every millisecond counts. So yeah, I can understand the issues and the frustrations from Jacob's side. So let's see what he's going to do. I can currently see 19 drivers in the lobby. We're missing somebody. It's not Jacob. He's in at the moment. Let's see. I think one of the Aston Martins is missing. No, actually, they're both here. Both Ferraris. I see them as well. The McLarens, are they complete? Yes, they are too. Alpine drivers, both present. Haas drivers, both complete. Both V-carbs too. Not entirely sure who we're missing at the moment. Just scrolling back and forth a little bit here. No. I cannot for the life of me figure... Oh, it's one of the Mercedes drivers, actually. One of the Mercedes drivers is missing. Marcel Biega's in. We're waiting for the second one. Somehow I've already forgotten who it was. But anyway, that's the one we're missing. Matteo Blotto is missing. There you go. So let's hope he'll be back soon. And then, Joseph, we're on our way. 36 laps. What can we expect?
Action. Just action for the whole of the 36 laps, regardless of whether it's for the lead, regardless of whether it's for the championship. They're all just going to be scrapping all race long, and it's going to be incredible. And some of the racecraft we will see is like no other. And, well, we should just be in for an incredible, incredible race, especially with safety car off. That means that could just mean that it's higher stakes to stay within the DRS. So some drivers will be pushing too hard, some drivers not hard enough, just coasting their way through and just happy to stay in. DRS trains will be in for a hell of a lot of action.
Yeah, I think DRS games might be more of a common thing tonight as well, because I feel like the drivers are going to take less risk, or less risk in terms of fighting at least, to make sure they do not lose connection to the car ahead. We've seen some drivers going very aggressive on the overtakes. I myself have raced in X4, and some of those drivers want to overtake in every single corner, costing the both of us a lot of time, which is just a big shame. So let's hope they will use their brains here in X1 and make sure they stay within touch of each other to get that chance of victory. Right now, everybody, I'd say, can have the victory here in Mexico, as there's just so many straights, so much DRS going on, a very few difficult corners, I have to say, as Matteo Blotto has finally joined the lobby, meaning we're going to be going on our way any second now. And of course, one thing we shouldn't forget is the weather. How often do we see rain in Mexico, actually?
Not very often,
No.
I don't think. But it could be, if it does, I think the drivers won't be as prepared as they would be if it was, for example, at Silverstone, like it was a couple of weeks ago. So if we get rain here, I'm not quite sure what the drivers are going to think.
Yeah, and they might have to change the setup for one. I believe a tiny bit has to be changed in the setup to make sure it's rain ready. But that's going to be an interesting one. I myself can remember only a very few wet Mexican races, so they're quite rare. But I believe the X1 group actually prefers dry races. They have seen too much rain, as far as I've seen them talking about in the Discord. So they'll be hoping for a lot of sunshine and rainbows. Well, not rainbows. That would mean it should have to rain. Either way, racing is coming up right now. The green flag has been given in the Discord. And that means we're finally going underway. For those fancy, beautiful 36 laps here around the Mexican circuit, it's gonna be a promising one. As I said, a lot of overtaking opportunities, of course, especially in turns 1 and 4 is where the drivers are going to try their hardest. Turn 12 is another opportunity if you've managed to stay close enough through the twisty section, which is difficult as these cars do not like to follow each other after all. They were hoping that with these new regulations, those cars will be having a little less trouble staying close to each other, but it turns out they are not really capable of doing that as much as they would have liked. So, staying close is crucial if you want to overtake in turn 12. Overtakes in the stadium section, you've got to be very brave and very risky indeed, which is something you do not want without a safety car. You don't want to lose the connection, as we've said. So yeah, we're going to see whether drivers are going to make their opportunities count. Some of them do have race engineers to talk to some sense into them potentially and to help them with their strategies. Others will have to go on their own, and that might determine some positions too. Top 15, as usual, will get the points with 35 points for the winning driver, all the way down to P15. So only 5 drivers go without points, and that is actually quite helpful for them.
Yes, it is going to be very helpful, I think. We'll be seeing tonight potentially some strategic games played. However, I do just think they will be driving as if there's no tomorrow, as if there's nothing to play for, because that is just how they drive, which means that we could be getting incredible battles, regardless of who they're matched up against, whether it's Dortensio against, for example, someone right down the field, someone like a Blotto who's joining for his first race. Oh, wow.
We've jinxed it hard. It's pouring down.
Insane.
Incredible. I'm a little bit lost for words. I mean, we were talking about the rain, as if we did some sort of rain dance. The game decided to comply, big time. It's difficult to see what a pit box is. In fact, that's how much rain is pouring down at the moment. This is absolutely horrible. And now I'm waiting in the Discord chat to see who's the first driver to say, not again. But so far, it remains awfully quiet.
This won't help Jacob Strode as well, because from my experience, rain will make the frame rates even worse. So
Rain
I think we
and
could be
sunset,
seeing
yeah.
Jacob retiring very, very soon. But yeah, this will throw something really into the works for these drivers. A spanner into the works, as you were. But yeah, I mean, I think we might be seeing as well some of these drivers gamble onto inters. I think because of when those dry lines build up, for some reason, the way this game works is it'll just get harder and harder easier and easier to drive on the main line, and it'll get drier and drier. So I think we could be seeing some gamble onto inters, but I'm surely, looking at these conditions, they'll take the wets.
Yeah, maybe those starting from the back, as they've decided to do a challenge anyway. Well, why not gamble the Inter straight away and make it even more difficult for themselves? So let's see what they're going to do. We're just waiting for the drivers to fully ready up. I can understand they're going to take a little bit longer to fine-tune the setups, make sure that tires are the correct ones. Full wets are probably the most logic choice, as you said. But maybe somebody is going to try something interesting and different for a change. So that might increase the action. One thing is for sure, this will not help the DRS trains because it will not be enabled at all. And by the time it might be dry, I do not know. I do not have any weather thing already here. So whether it's going to be dry later in the race, I cannot tell you yet. We'll have to find out as we get underway very soon indeed. One thing we know for sure, that the people in the grandstands are going to get very wet. Because these circumstances are quite difficult. In fact, we do know this game likes to throw out a safety car as well when the track is too wet. Tom Roberts saying he's desynced, but we're getting on our way right now. Let's hope that desync does get away. We're going to find out the tires real soon. Round 9 here of the championship in X1 is officially underway as Campbell Adams does get off the line quite well. Let's see if everybody else gets as well. He's gonna have a good run towards turn 1. There comes Marcel Biega from that famous third position. Looks like he's not able to get the toe as much as he would have liked, but he does decide to go on the inside, and there goes the pole sitter. Campbell Adams spins around straight away. Disaster immediately in the first corner. Marcel Biega does get the first position, albeit by ghosting through Thomas Lang, who now inherits second place from the disaster that happened right there. Tim Tornimo goes up into P3. Damien Carril tries to get past as many drivers as well, as he's getting on the inside of Louis Welch, but he's gonna have to back out right here. Surely he does. Lucas Beisner there trying to fend off Ryan Gropp a bit further back. Campbell Adams though still with the group. Let's hope there's no damage to his car. He was punted in the side, so let's hope that the front wing at least is still intact. We see another driver there going wide. The conditions are incredibly tricky. The game is set. This should be full wet conditions, but everybody except for 4 drivers have opted for the intermediate tires. The mediums would have been quite impressive indeed. The top 3 is starting to pull away. Louis Welch is not able to keep up. There comes Lucas Beisner around the outside. Wants to try and go to his teammate. But Damien Carril is having absolutely none of it, as he had the inside on the very next corner indeed. Ryan Gropp still in P7. Brandu has made up a lot of positions already from the back of the field in P10. Ahead of Tom Roberts already. So a lot of action here on lap 1. And we're still just 1 lap in.
I said they might take that gamble onto the Inters. I was proven right, and only Galeotto, Ranieri, Geerts and Blotto are on them. But we look up at this battle for the race lead. Thomas Lang holding on to it, Biega being squeezed to the inside line. He could get the inside, or he could have Tornimo have the run. Biega is going to get the inside and that run. He gets that crucial drier line. Of course, it's not dry yet, but it will be soon, as Biega edges his way into the lead of this race. Thomas Lang tries to hold on to P2. Tornimo is trying to go around the outside. He can't quite make it move. In the background, Damien Curiel and Louis Welch are side by side for P4. And, Curiel gets through. Beisner now tries to get through on Welch. He's going to be on the outside line. They're all just they're all struggling so far in this stint just to get that grip because, of course, those Inters will grip up later on. For now, though, it's a huge gamble to go on them, and at the moment it is paying off. However, the top three, 1.4 seconds ahead of Curiel already. Here comes Gian Gudendorp down at the inside, making his way up into P5, and he has Damien Curiel next up as Beisner gets the position off of Welch. It's 3 wide between Welch, Jarling, and Grob. And it's Arling who gets through. Welch gets squeezed out. That's Sam Arling who's squeezed out into the wall and drops now down to the back of the field. Don't fight yet, because surely it is not the time, and it is not the conditions either.
Yeah, I saw something fly off the car of Lua Welch, and I was correct. He retires straight away in the pit lane, which is a shame. Once you have to change your front wing, you know the race is over without a safety car. I think some of these drivers are now ruining their decision to vote for no safety car, because this would have been an ideal opportunity to come back. That is not going to happen. We see another car going slow. That's Pascal Ranieri in the pit lane as well. He's going to have to hope for an absolute mega miracle. And the Flying Dutchman of tonight, that is Kian Goedendorp, who has moved his way up from 20th to P5 already. He's now hounding his fellow Dutchman, Damien Curiel, to take that 4th position, who on his turn is starting to close the gap again to the top 3. Only 1.1 seconds remain. It was 1.4 a lap ago, and he's gaining ever since. Jacob Strout, the other V-carb right there, just getting past Alexi Covera, or it might be vice versa as Alexi retakes the position from him. Back into P11, the Finn in the Ferrari goes, but he's still being hounded by the cars from behind. They're very close together at the moment. We saw a lot of cars going off on Sector 2 through the twisty section. Abdullah Boulaish is being the first rider to get a 3-second time penalty to his name, and Kian Goedendorp in the meanwhile has overtaken Damien Curiel for P4, and he's already within 1 second of Tinter Nemo, the next car in line for a podium place. So far, 4 laps in, and he's already in P4. That's an absolutely mighty race so far from the Dutchman. Angelo D'Ortenzio is trying to do a repeat from last week. He's also moving up in the field, all the way up into P7, already having overtaken Tom Roberts for that position, and now he's chasing down the German in the Sauber for P6.
Yes, it's not too bad from Angelo D'Ortenzio, but for Goedendorp, I might have to make another one of those last to first videos like I did with Angelo last week. But yeah, it's not going badly at the moment for either of those drivers. Of course, starting at the back of the field, Goedendorp now caught up to the top 3 pack. Biega, Lang and Tornimo are the only drivers separating him from going all the way from last right up to first. However, his teammate is coming under pressure. Jacob Strode under pressure from Campbell Adams, who of course started right up the very top in the McLaren, now trying to get back up into P12 and trying to rebuild his race almost from the very start. But now sitting in P13, it's not the ideal scenario, especially when you're heading through the final sector and you're trying to get past with limited overtaking opportunities. Kian Goedendorp tries to go through on Tim Tornimo around the outside into the stadium section. Can he make this move stick? It's around the outside, switching to the inside, but Tornimo doesn't allow him that space, and Goedendorp's going to have to do it all over again down the main straight. And, well, he'll be in the slipstream and be in with the perfect opportunity to do so. Tornimo almost a second off of Thomas Lang, and of course, even though that doesn't mean he doesn't get DRS, because of course there is no DRS, it does mean that he is not going to be in the slipstream. And Goedendorp is closing in 2/10, now 1/10. Not making that move here, but he's certainly shaping up a move and looking at all the ways he can get past the Swede.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to find the weak points of Tinter Nemo. Looks like the exit of turn 3 might be one of them. He's getting ever closer. He's got very little battery to use, but he's going to try it anyway. Into turn 4. Kian Goedendorp, can he get into the podium position on lap 5 from P20? Yes, he does. No problem whatsoever. And there he goes. Also knocking on the door of Tinter Nemo, Damien Curiel. Lucas Beister and Curiel's teammate Angelo D'Ortenzio is also getting ever closer to that famed podium place right there. We might have to make, or you might have to make, a double highlight video about 2 drivers starting from last, getting all the way to the front of the field, the way these drivers are driving at the moment. Absolutely brilliant job by both of them. It's still a long way to go though, and the rain seems to have lightened up a tiny bit. There's still a lot of spray coming up of these cars, but it looks like the intermediate car tires were the right choice. We all saw that the wet tire drivers were starting to fall back rapidly. Finn Geerts is still hanging on to them. The rest has swapped already to the intermediates. Giovanni Galeotto, Matteo Blotto, Pascal Ranieri, of course, had to come in quite early as well. And now they are at the back of the field, hoping Their ties will last them long enough to close up to the rest. Lap 6, Kian Goedendorp now with the fastest lap of the race. Marcel Biega and Thomas Lang are gonna have to put up a good working together right there to make sure Kian stays behind, because he's flying at the moment. We can see then here in turn 1, Lucas Beisner trying to fend off Angelo Tertenzio. He's in an Alpine sandwich pretty much, and he wants to get past. He gets a good opportunity right here because Damien got a bit slow out of turn 3, and he's gonna make the move straight away. Where is he gonna go? Outside or inside? He can't make a decision right there. He's gonna try the outside, which means he'll have the inside in the next corner. Damien goes quite wide, gives Lucas no opportunity to get past, but Lucas gets another great run out of the next corner. He's still gonna go side by side. The German is not giving up. The Sauber is gonna move past, and he moves almost up a position because there's Damien. Oh, they come together. They synchronously nearly spun together, and now they're dropping down the field, the both of them fighting a little bit too hard, and there's your consequence. And Angelo slips through, goes into P5, and the chase is on for the top 4.
Yes, at the moment, Angelo D'Ortenzio and Kian Goedendorp. I keep doing the on the wrong bit of the name. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get there. Kian Goedendorp having a very, very stellar performance here. As this is the other Alpine coming under pressure. It's the two Alpines currently sitting in 5th and 6th. Tom Roberts, though, looking to make his way past as they head down into the main straight for the 7th time in this race. He was pressuring into the stadium section. He's now pressuring out of the stadium section as he's right tucked into the slipstream of Curiel and pulls to the inside line now. Curiel also moves off of the line just to try and squeeze him. Roberts goes through, but around the outside he sweeps, and Damien Curiel is still going side by side with Roberts as Kian Goedendorp makes his way up to 2nd place and continues his run. He made his way past Lang and Marcel Biega as well. Sitting at the top is his next target up as Roberts drops down or drops into P6. Beisner in P7 and Curiel now down into P8. But for Goedendorp, this is the perfect opportunity. He saw Biega and Lang fighting, and he decided that that was his time to fight.
Yes, indeed. I think he got a little bit of a gift from Thomas Lang. He was fighting Marcel Biega for the lead of the race. I think I saw that on the minimap. Might have been that Thomas Lang got a bad exit, and Kian was allowed to pretty much breeze through into 2nd place. Now he's got one more place to make up, and then he's done the last to first already, pretty much before the half of the race is over. So he's absolutely flying right there. Campbell Adams, at the meanwhile, is doing a brilliant recovery on his own after being spun out on lap 1. He is up into P12, as Yusuf points out in the Twitch chat quite well, and he's gonna get another good run. He's got so much more grip, you can see right there, than Alexi Cavero has out of the corner. So much more able to keep the car under control, and now he's gonna have another run against the Ferrari, but it looks like the Ferrari has got a little bit more straight line speed. That means Campbell can't make the move that he wanted to do in turn 1. Maybe a bit of a dive to help him out right there, but I think he's just a bit too far away. He does close in the corners though. That might be another opportunity for him to take right there, but for now Alexi keeps him at bay just barely. Another poor exit though for the Ferrari allows the Campbell Adams to get a bit closer once more. Now he's using a bit more battery to stay close, but still not close enough to make it stick or make it work whatsoever. To sector 2 right there. He gets another strong exit, but still no way past yet. We can in the meanwhile see a bit of a group starting to form. A top 5 is driving away from the drivers behind. Then all the way down to P13 is the second group. And then some lonesome drivers and the Williams drivers all together in 14th and 15th. Going to try and work together to catch up to this particular group right here.
Yeah, and well, it's very interesting that there is big gaps already. But the top couple of pelotons, as I would call them, staying together. Top 5 and then 6th down to 13th place. So a 6-car battle and an 8-car battle for these points positions. Of course, Balaish and Arling in the points and out of the loop as Goedendorp continues his run and moves up to that 1st place. But Biega's going to try and fight him back on that inside line. He hasn't got enough, and Goedendorp goes from last to 1st within 9 laps of this Mexican Grand Prix. Sensational stuff.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible. But Marcel Biega is not going to make it easy for him, although he does have a time penalty to his name already, which is bad news for the Pole, who wants to go in that 1st position and wants to claim the win tonight. He's been really fast in qualifying, just missed out on pole position by a very tiny margin indeed. All within a tenth in the top 5 they were in qualifying. But he's got 3 seconds to his name now. And that is really going to hurt his chances to win the race. He's going to have to drive away, which is difficult with drivers being this fast. Angelo D'Ortenzio, in the meanwhile, is putting serious pressure on Tim Tornimo to get past. He wants to go into the top 4 today, if possible. And he's going to have to move past the Ferrari if he wants to succeed. Sam Arling gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. Twice, at least according to the game. Not sure what's going on there. Let me have a quick look about what happens exactly. He's now got even more penalties. Now got 33 seconds to his name. 43 seconds.
I think he might be trying to retire.
Is wrecking them up. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happening there, but I really do think that he's going to come into the pits at the end of this lap and retire, unfortunately. There we go. Not surprised with 53 seconds worth of penalties.
Wow, that's impressive. Yellow flag, of course, therefore on the main straight as the Dutchman has retired from the race. Not sure why. He was still within the points, within the top 15 at the very least, working together with his teammate. As you can see there, Angelo D'Ortenzio has moved past Tim Tornimo. He wants to come back at him. Angelo going the fences towards the outside of the corner, and Tim Tornimo finding no way past anymore. So that means now Kian back down in second place, made up 18 positions. Angelo D'Ortenzio has made up 15. It's going to be a tricky one to decide who's going to be driver of the day. For now, at least, Kian has made up more position than Angelo has. But if Angelo can pull it off 2 last to first races in a row, that will be seriously impressive. Once again, then, Kian Goedendorp getting awfully close to Marcel Biega. But the race will not be over until it's over, which is a very cliche thing to say, but you shouldn't race too hard yet. It will allow the other drives to get closer. There's only a 1.4 second gap between P5 and 6, as the second group is starting to close in on them, actually.
Yeah, and well, that should throw something into the mixer, but it does look as though you can see those dry lines forming. Of course, 11 laps into this race now, they're going faster and faster as those dry lines do form, and Tom Roberts at the lead of that second pack in behind. Is almost into that 1 second range as Finn Geerts gets a 3 second time penalty to the inside. Looks Angelo D'Ortenzio on Thomas Lang, trying to take that final podium position off the kick. Sauber, who is the only driver who qualified in the top 3 to stay with, or no, Marcel Biega as well. Apologies for that. But yeah, Thomas Lang qualifying in on the front row, and he drops now down to P4 behind D'Ortenzio. Goedendorp and D'Ortenzio starting at the back, making their way up to the front. This will be an incredible highlights reel from these two, starting 19th and 20th, and now up to 2nd and 3rd. It's so insane, the level of these drivers, and I've said this probably since the start of the EXA season, potentially not publicly, but I think that Goedendorp and D'Ortenzio will be fighting for F1 esports titles in the future, and at the moment Goedendorp fighting for this EXA title. I feel like this is just, it's around where his level is at the moment, and he's about to absolutely explode onto the scene. D'Ortenzio as well, not even old enough to make it to F1 esports, but I'm sure he'll be snapped up as soon as he is, and well, he's just going to try and fight it right up to the very top of the world. A third of the way through this race then, and Marcel Biega is holding off the two that I've just touted as future F1 esports world champions. But how much can the FVR driver hold on against the two Mercedes, or against the two drivers behind? Can the Mercedes hold on against Goedendorp? No, but at the moment he is sitting ahead of Angelo D'Ortenzio in P3. How much longer though can he keep the Alpine behind with that momentum that he has? I'm not 100% sure, and it looks as though D'Ortenzio could be even looking to make that move potentially around the outside into turn number 4, or he's just going to sit in and wait for the next opening, as there are openings mainly down that main straight with that slipstream, and if Goedendorp breaks that slipstream of Biega, we could be seeing an almighty scrap between the V-Carb and the Alpine for this race victory.
The track is improving. We've seen the lap times coming down, with Tom Roberts now having the fastest lap to his name. He's close to the gap to the top 5, along with several others, and he's going to be in with a chance for victory as well. In the top 4, 2 drivers have 3-second penalties. That's Thomas Lang and Marcel Biega. At the moment, therefore, the battle for the win is between Kian and Angelo, with Tim Tornimo not that far behind either. That is interesting because both Kian and Angelo have done something special. We can see there, I think it's Finn No, it's Campbell Adams, once again in trouble. What's happened to him there? Second time, we see a yellow flag coming from him. He was fighting for P11 with Alexi Cavero, but there might have been contact. He might have lost it on his own, but another disaster there strikes the Australian as he started from pole, now down in 14th place and well behind the rest of the pack. That's going to be difficult to recover from here, but maybe a brilliant strategy when it gets dry enough to go to the dry tires might help him. Otherwise, I'd say his chance for victory, pretty much zero.
Yeah, we'll see as the conditions, or at least the track, dries up where this race evolves to, as it does look a lot less slippery on that circuit, but of course there is rain coming down and affecting everywhere that isn't really the racing line. Ryan Grob down the inside of Damien Curiel. Alexi Cavero could be looking to make a move as well around the outside. Not quite got enough space to make it through as Curiel takes that line perfectly as to not lose enough time in himself, and also takes enough of a chunk out of Alexi Cavero's time to stop the Ferrari fighting forward. But these three trying to close in now on Lucas Beisner, who's trying to close in on Tom Roberts, who has closed in on that top 5 pack. So the opportunities are rife for these drivers. There's also a lot of opportunities if you can stay penalty free. Jacob Strode becoming the latest driver to pick up 3 seconds worth of penalties. Biega, Lang, Curiel, Strode, Boulaish, Ranieri, Geertz, Galiotto and Blotto as well, picking up penalties. And I think we could be seeing, there we go, Jacob Strode retiring from the session. So that's a shame there to see the V-Cub, the third retirement from this session, as his teammate flies away in this race lead. But Bison are trying to close in on that top 6 pack. He's 1.4 seconds back. And if any of them make a mistake, that is the Kick Sauber's opportunity to strike. His teammates already in P4. There could be team games played, but I don't know if they're going to do that. If they were, then I think Lang would have made them early. But at the moment, I think the FVR man is just trying to stay within range of Biega, Goedendorp and Hortensio at the top.
Yeah, of course. Thomas does have that 3-second time penalty to his name. So if anything, it might be an idea to help out Lucas Beisner for a better position, at least in the Constructors' Championship. It will be quite worth it. But there is still 1.1 seconds to go for the second Sauber driver right here to get back to what is now the top 6. A bit further behind, Ryan Grob has gone past Damien Curiel, as you just saw, as if he wasn't really there. Just Ryan had so much more grip at that point on the track right there, turns 4, 5 and 6. He's done well. Speaking of grip, there goes Damien Curiel, nearly losing the control of the car in the stadium section. He's just barely able to stay ahead of Alexi Cavero, who saw his opportunity straight away. And now he's struggling. Look at that. He's struggling hard. It's like he's burned up his tires already on lap 15, halfway almost in the race. And there comes Alexi Cavero. He's going to go run the inside. What's Damien going to do? He's going to catch a bit of slipstream from the Ferrari, trying to snatch the position back in turn 1. But Alexi's got more straight line speed, as we saw when he was fighting against Campbell Adams as well. The Ferrari is just very fast on the straights. He's just done a bit to that setup to make sure he at least has a lot of straight line speed. He's probably thinking that it might become dry later down the race, and the track is starting to dry quite quickly right now. The lap times are tumbling. The raindrops are starting to get less intense, so maybe we'll see some dry tires later down the line. Either way, Alexi Cavero has done a great job against Damien Curiel. He's lost now his position to Brandu as well, who's climbed up into P10. He is also on a good job from 18th already up to P10. Another driver is making his way up there as fast as he possibly can. And Lucas Beisner now, 3 seconds to his name. That's bad news for Sauber then. What are they going to do with these two? Now that they've got 3 seconds to the name, are they going to make sure they will get as far ahead as possible, or are other plans coming into play now?
I think now is where the strategies, they're going to start thinking about the strategies. 15 laps in, 21 laps to go in this race, and it's just going to tick over to 16 laps in. And, well, we will see as it all develops at the moment. The cars are certainly going faster. It does look as though it's drying up, and Alexi Cavero setting the fastest lap with a 23.7, demonstrating that it's getting easier, as Campbell Adams there, 23.4. So demonstrating even better that there is a lot on offer. There's a lot of time on offer at the very least, if not strategic development. As I think going on to the Inters was certainly the right strategy because of the fact that it has been made easier, not only by the weather, but also that dry line. And while overtakes might be a little bit of a gamble at this point in time, the drivers have shown that they don't really care about whether it's a gamble or not. They've just gone for it anyway, and it has paid off. I don't think we've had many, if any, issues, and Finn Geerts on the wet set of tyres will surely be wanting to switch over at some point. I think when we see the McLaren in, it'll be for a set of the dry compound of tyres, as it just looks like it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter here around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and soon it will be the opportunity for a gamble for someone like Finn, who's off of the pack by about 15, 16, 17 seconds, the McLaren, right down at the bottom of the field. Damien Curiel picking up a 3-second time penalty. He's down in P11. Houdendop looking to chase Biega for this race lead. He's just a tenth behind. He might pull out here to the inside line on the Mercedes even, as he heads down the straight, and it's going to be Kian who retakes that race lead ahead of Biega. D'Ortenzio happy to sit in P3 for now.
Yes, he does. Just waiting out his opportunity. Of course, there's still a lot of laps to go. More than half of the race. Just over half, in fact. So there's no worries just yet for him. I wonder also if they're going to use Finn in the McLaren team to try out whether the dry tires are effective just yet. We can see somebody going in. That's Giovanni Galeotto. He retires from the race. Finn Geerts does come in. Did I just jinx another thing right here? There he goes. His full wet tires are going to be ditched. What is he going to choose? He is going to choose the dry tires. Believe it or not, he's actually going to try and see whether this works. I wonder if the two drivers are connected to each other in terms of communication tonight with a 1 or 2 race engineers on the team. Campbell Adams might have some valuable information on his hands. Whether it works or not, we're going to find out now. We're going to have to keep a close eye on the gap between Finn and Matteo as he goes through the corners. DRS has not yet been enabled, meaning that, of course, that the game thinks the track is not yet dry enough for the medium hards or whichever tire you prefer. And the drivers certainly seem to agree, but the lap times are getting faster. Now we're down to 1 minute 22.6 by Kian, who's now taken a somewhat comfortable lead in terms of as far as you can get comfortable with drivers like these. You can see Marcel Biega getting awfully close. He's also getting attacked there by Angelo D'Ortenzio, who's found an opportunity to get past. Oh, they bump into each other, and carbon flying off. I hope for Angelo's sake there's no damage to the front wing right there. We see a yellow flag here because of Giovanni's retired Aston Martin, meaning they cannot overtake. Flag goes back to green though. Opportunities come to them as they go. Finn's gap at 24 seconds at the moment, I'd say, is somewhat stable-ish. I think he's actually gaining, isn't he?
It looks as though he may well be, but that may just be because of the gap to Matteo Blotto. If we got the gap as D'Ortenzio goes around the outside, the long way around Marcel Biega. Mistake made from the Mercedes, and the Alpine slots through 1.6 seconds off of Houdendop, so there must have been a mistake from Biega. But I'm sure if we saw the gap between Geerts and Houdendop, then we would get a little bit better information, as there's a puncher for Alexei Cavero, who retires on track, and that could demonstrate the crossover period for these intermediate tyres, as Alexei Cavero, right left or rear left puncher, and that is him out of the session.
That is huge, actually. A big warning to the other drivers as well. Some have heeded the warning because Bison, Tom Roberts, Ryan Grob, Brandu all coming in now for a set of fresh hard tires on Lucas's car at the very least. What the others going to do? Let's quickly swap to the tire information. Matteo Blotto swapped to the medium tires as well. Finn Geerts has shown that the dry tires are now actually viable, and that means they're gonna have to swap real soon. From the top 6, it's Tom Roberts who's gone in earliest, and DRS has been enabled. That means Tom Roberts now seriously got a shot at the race lead. Of course, Kian has managed to get a bit of a gap to Angelo, who himself has managed to get a gap to Thomas Lang. Marcel Biega has dropped down the order. I think these tires, oh, look at that, they are, I think, at exploding point. They're drifting all over the way. They are dangerously worn at the moment. 19 laps in, no surprises there. Finn Geerts does go in the pit lane again with the fastest lap of the race. No, he doesn't go in the pit lane, actually. He spun out on the main straight. That could be a little bit confused. Not sure what happened to him right there. Maybe a bit of a slippery surface on the track, but they've got to come in now. If they don't do it, they will definitely, literally blow up their tires. And they do come in, all drifting into the pit entry. There they go, just in time. Damien Carril retires. He's crashed out and gonna follow Pascal to see what exactly happens to the Alpine. There he is in the wall. A lot of things happening all at once. He's swapped to the fresh set of intermediates Damien has. Probably a glitch by the game. He didn't want that. Of course, those tires don't really work anymore, and that's the Dutchman out. He was fighting for at least a strong top 10 position, but he's no longer there. And there we go. Where's Tom Roberts come out? There he goes, full speed on the main straight. Is he gonna challenge Kian Goedendorp for P1 in turn 1? No, he just misses out on the lead of the race. But it is P2 there for Tom Roberts after an early call to go to the hard tires. He's at least for now managed to sneak into the top 3. Brilliant move there by the Red Bull driver. And he's done it.
Yes, and well, Tom Roberts just offering a little bit of resistance to the two drivers that haven't had much resistance all day. Goedendorp and D'Ortenzio coming under pressure from Tom Roberts, who went in a lap early, and it looks as though it's worked for the Red Bull, as Abdullah Balash, I think, crashed into the pit lane because he retired from the session, but his car did not come out of the pits. But Finn Geerts retiring now from the session. And, well, that's a shame because he was going to pick up points. Of course, the top 15 picking up points. And Balash and Curiel crashing out. Geerts would have been in for some guaranteed points here today. But nonetheless, that is him out of the session. Cavero picked up a puncher at the first possible moment that he could have as his tyres ticked over the puncher threshold. And, well, that's very, very disappointing for him as that has scared all of the drivers into coming into the pit. And I think it was the perfect opportunity. Fastest lap went to Tom Roberts, then Grob, then Brando with an 18.9. And we've got Tom Roberts making a switch for this race lead. It's the Red Bull up into P1, 15 laps to go. And Tom Roberts is holding a candle to those two who've had such good pace so far this weekend. And, well, the two kick Saubers coming under pressure from Tim Tornimo, who's had that pace as well. But he hasn't quite got that track position just yet.
No, Lucas Bison, of course, benefited from coming in a lap earlier as well. He's finally got himself firmly into the top 5 and fighting with his own teammate. Both of them having penalties. Marcel Biega now down to P6 and away from the top 3, crucially. He was fighting for the win all race long, and then came the pit stops and his own mistake from those extremely worn tires. And this is the consequence. Now he's fighting for P4. Not something he would have liked to see. We can see Angelo D'Ortenzio struggling to keep up with the top 2 right there. Tom Roberts and Kian are absolutely flying. It's like those mediums aren't really catching on just yet. They can't possibly be worn yet, but he's going to have to make them last a very long time. Still 15 laps to go on those mediums. He's going to have to be a little bit careful. Maybe that's why he's lacking a little bit of pace, but there they go then. On to lap 22 with the fastest lap now in Tom Roberts' hands. Kian, though, just breezing past. Of course, Tom is not going to fight it because why would he? He's going to get another opportunity later down the line, preferably next lap when he will have the DRS and Kian won't. Angelo is getting saved by that same DRS as well. Meanwhile, the group behind is desperately trying to catch that certain top 3 right there. 1.6 seconds separates them from a podium place, with Angelo now the latest to pick up a penalty right there. That's crucial. And very bad news for the Italian in his pursuit of the mission from 19th to 1st. Which is going to be a lot more difficult right now. So Kian then has got all the papers in his hands to do the challenge from last to first. 2 weeks after Angelo did it in Silverstone.
Yes, it would be absolutely insane stuff if Kian followed up what Angelo did just last race. And, well, Angelo in there. He could still stop him. I think those mediums were a gamble, all things considered. And especially now, Angelo on the back foot, because he's got those tyres that won't quite last all the way to the end, and that penalty as well. As I mentioned earlier in the race, anybody who was able to stay out of getting a penalty is going to be in a great position, and Goedendorp, Roberts and Tornimo, the only 3 outside of those penalties at the moment. And as a result, it's going to be Tim Tornimo in that 3rd place after all the penalties are applied. So that is just really, really crucial as Thomas Lang makes his way through. Marcel Biega trying to retake the position right up the top that he feels as though he's deserved. And he's made his way through to P5, trying to catch up now with Thomas Lang in P4 to D'Ortenzio in P3. But Tim Tornimo's not having it. He's fighting his way past Beisner as well around the outside. He's going to try and keep range as there's contact. Beisner just rode that curb a little bit too much. and then there was contact between himself and Tornemo. Not too bad, and I think that's just a racing incident, but Tornemo up to P6, Bison dropping to P7, and, well, elbows coming out now as Bison, another 3-second time penalty, headed the kick Sauber's way. I think that takes his total up to 6, so still, Groenendorp, Roberts and Tornemo penaltyless, and looking now to take full advantage of it. Lang closed in 6/10 to D'Ortenzio on that last lap, and so this race could just be about to get all that more exciting.
We're also seeing the result of having no safety cars. 11 drivers remain. 9 of them have thrown in the towel because they couldn't get back to the rest of the field anymore whatsoever. I'm not sure if they're gonna choose to have no safety car for another race, to be honest. Marcel Biega gets past Thomas Lang for P4, but they have those time penalties. Tim Tornemo is actually pretty much in P4, and if they can stay close enough to the top 3, he'll actually go to the podium in his Ferrari tonight. That would be brilliant for him, as his pit stop strategy didn't work as well as he would have liked, as he's now a bit further behind the top 3 than he initially was. But Marcel Biega is having some pace. He's actually catching first sector purple for the pole, who was fighting for the win before the rain stopped and the pit stops came. And now he's starting to close the gap. He's a man on a mission. He wants to at least try and get P3 from Angelo D'Ortenzio. The win is going to be difficult depending on how many warnings Tom Roberts and Kieran Groenendorp have, of course. We do not know that, but they are definitely still without penalties. That's absolutely a fact. Tom Roberts, though, is still putting on the pressure on the Dutchman. He might be the spanner in the works of the mission of Kian from last to first, and big championship points to his name to overhaul Luca Ripasa in the standings tonight. And then we'll have a final showdown in the final round of Season 8 here in X1. That will be a mighty one to see, if of course both of them show up, that is. Angelo D'Ortenzio is also gonna do great business for the top of the standings, as he's gonna get a good haul of points home as well. Marcel Biega, in the meanwhile, was P4, now back down to P6. Tim Tornemo gets pushed extremely wide. He wants to stay side by side with the Mercedes, but he doesn't get the opportunity. He's got a slot in behind. What's he gonna try? Outside or inside? It's actually the gearbox of the Mercedes going to choose. Didn't work out for him just yet, but he does not have the penalty, so he doesn't have to take as much risk as the other cars in his group. 1.1 seconds now from Thomas Lang to Angelo D'Ortenzio, but crucially behind him there's also quite a big gap now between himself and the Mercedes of Marcel, meaning that no DRS is there either. But Thomas Lang has firmly got within 1 second. He does get DRS to the top 3, and that is going to make things even more interesting.
Yeah, especially with Marcel Biega unable to pressure the kick Sauber up ahead, so the Ferrari, or the Mercedes even, is going to come under significant pressure from Tim Tornemo as they head out of the final corner. Big wobble for Tom Roberts, so he can come under pressure from D'Ortenzio, but Tornemo now trying to close in on Biega with that DRS. Roberts coming under pressure from D'Ortenzio as they head down the main straight one more time. It's to the inside line for Roberts, who's still going to try and put the pressure on Groenendorp, and he does so, taking the lead of the race. It's Biega getting past Bison for P6. Tornemo now in P5, and only 1.2 seconds behind Thomas Lang in the kick Sauber, as DRS is open for him as well. DRS is not available for Thomas Lang, but it is available for his teammate Lucas Beisner, who's going to try successfully to get past Marcel Biega into P6. So these battles are brewing, and I think we could be in for an incredible last 10 laps of this Grand Prix, especially if Tornemo's able to make it within DRS of Lang and D'Ortenzio. With all the other drivers waiting in the wings, Brando, Adams and Ranieri off of circulation of this top 8 group. But it's a top 8 group that looks as though they're going to stay together until the end of this race. Tornemo and Lang gap 1.5 seconds. Lang and D'Ortenzio gap now 0.3. So it's tightening up at the top. And if Tornemo can catch right back up, then we will have an 8-car shootout for that race lead.
Indeed, but only 3 cars of those will have actually got a chance to get the race win. Kieran Groenendorp, Tom Roberts and Tim Tornemo are all within a shot for the race win, as the third man I just mentioned is getting overtaken by Lucas Beisner as he drops down to P7 as well. He of course doesn't fight it, otherwise it will lose him only more and more time, but the gap though between P4 and 5 is starting to increase. 1.8 seconds right now, spelling trouble for the Ferrari. At least he can finish P5, but the other 4 cars in the top 4 are starting to slip away from them. That might be bad news for him indeed, but there's still 9.5 laps to go. The hard tires are working fine. Angelo's mediums are still working fine as well. He's no longer struggling. He's able to stay with the other two cars, also keeping Thomas Lang at bay as long as he's got DRS. But at some point, the drop-off will come for those yellow wall tires. Look at that already, through the corners especially. He's struggling. Thomas Lang is pretty much pushing the Alpine through the corners right here in the stadium especially. Is going to be a bit of a pain for the German to stay behind the Italian right here. And he's going to try and find an opportunity out of the final two corners to get past the Alpine, to get into third position. Look at that, they're very close together. Will this the moment where Thomas Lang is going to go for it? He doesn't have an awful lot of batteries, you can see on the steering wheel right there. He does get DRS, but Angelo's straight line speed, as you can see, is just a little bit bigger, even without this battery usage right there. So that means he does have a little bit less downforce, also explaining the struggle through the corners.
Yes, and well, it's the gamble between the those who took the wet setup and those who took the dry setup. If you've got the dry setup, you're going to get a little bit better in terms of that straight line speed. But if you took the wet setup, then you'll be so much better through the corners. Ryan Grob making his way past Lucas Beisner, who appears to have gone for a wet setup and is just not quite quick enough as opposed to all the other drivers in these dry conditions. As the gap has now opened up between the top four and the rest, as Tornimo almost broke that DRS, but Marcel Biega is now 2.4 seconds off of Thomas Lang, and Lang himself looking to try and pressure Angelo D'Ortenzio as they head through the stadium section, and we've got 8 laps to go in this race, and you just feel as though Thomas Lang has something in the tank. He's done incredibly well to catch up to this top 3 pack and stay with them, and you just feel as though that Kick Sauber is going to be able to take something away from this race, whether it's a podium, whether it's potentially even an on-track victory. I think it's going to be hard to take a real victory with those penalties, as Tom Robertson, Goedendop swap, and Tornimo and Biega as well one more time. But Thomas Lang, you just feel as though he has something left in that tank.
He does. Looks like he's actually really fast and really pushing to put Angelo under pressure. But the thing is, the place where you can overtake, of course, are the straights. And that is where he currently lacks the speed to stay with the Alpine at the moment. Then again, Tim Tornimo probably starting to get a little bit panicky. He's 2.1 seconds away now from the top 4, and he can slowly see his podium starting to slip away from him. The gap between himself and P3 is at the moment about 2.4-ish, 3-ish seconds. And that might spell trouble for him. We can see Campbell Adams and Brandu having a great time in turns 4, 5, and 6 in terms of racing. In terms of catching up to the rest, not so much. 16 seconds away from P8, but still points on the board. What are they doing? They're just having a really good time, aren't they? Just weaving around happily together. Pascal Ranielli is going to close up as well. They're just going to have a chill time with the 3 of them, aren't they? It's quite hilarious to see, actually.
Well, I mean, fair enough. Why not, as they are off the pack, and they're just going to now scrap for glory rather than for positions. Goedendop gets past Roberts and up into the lead of the race. D'Ortenzio now tries and has a say in this battle down the inside of Tom Roberts. Can he make this move, as there's a big lock up into turn 1 for both of them? But D'Ortenzio makes it stick and gets up into P2. Could he attack Goedendop, or does Goedendop's DRS just pull him away? I think that is the case, as the top 4 staying in position. D'Ortenzio, though, taking it off of Tom Roberts for the first time in this race. And it just feels as though those top 2, who had such a monopoly over those positions, are now starting to be knocked down just that little bit. And with not long to go left in this race, we have a very, very tense one on our hands. Of course, some drivers will feel as though they can get their penalties removed. Whether they do or not is another question. But especially if you're going to win this race on track, you're going to be looking back at every single one of those penalties that you've picked up if you're Angelo D'Ortenzio, and hoping that you can get them removed. If you're Thomas Lang as well, and if Biega can get back within range, he's just jumped beneath 2 seconds behind. You are wanting to get rid of those penalties as well. But we head on to lap 31 now, with it all to play for. Tim Tornimo closing in on Biega. Lang having a go at Tom Roberts. This is for the final podium position on track, but he doesn't have that straight line speed to catch up just yet, as Tornimo makes his way past Biega with that DRS and moves up into P5. And he's going to try and close in on the rest of that group. But the leader of that group not having DRS is so crucial, as Tim Tornimo has lost 0.7 of a second to Thomas Lang on that last lap, and only down that main straight as Biega sends it late on Ryan Grob to defend that position. Does so successfully, and the Mercedes holds P6 for the time being. Ryan Grob starting to pressure, but a few too many penalties for the Aston Martin means that he's not quite going to be able to catch up. We're on lap 31 now. We've got a 4-car battle for the lead. We've got a 4-car battle for P5. You don't want to miss this.
Definitely not. Keen Goedendorp suddenly finds himself with a bit of a gap behind. 0.8 of a second all out of nowhere. He's pushing really hard to get away from them. And, you know, their Tensio, of course, desperately trying to stay with the Dutchman. Tom Roberts, not getting a great exit out of turn 13. Thomas Lang, though, not able to find his way past just yet. The gap between Thomas and Tim is been shrinking down to 2.5 right now, but it was 1.8 seconds one lap ago. So there's a lot of time that has been lost. They're flying on the main straight, this group of 4 cars for the lead. And Marcel Biega is going to have to get back past the Ferrari right there. Ryan Grob is having a little bit of a look in the rear view mirrors of the Ferrari, but doesn't move just yet. He's getting that speed through the corners, as you can see right here. The medium tyres, in the meanwhile, will be certainly past their prime at the moment. And only DRS is keeping Angelo at the moment, and his sheer pace, of course, within the top 4 right there. 2 cars without a penalty, 2 with for the win at the moment. And it looks like Tim Tornemo's hope for a podium have pretty much been flying away from him. They are not able to keep up. 2.8 seconds right now, and I'm afraid that gap is only going to get bigger and bigger by the lap as they once again go through sector number 2. This is where Kian apparently quite shines. This is where he gains a lot of time on Angelo's worn medium tires. He still has to keep them alive for another 4 laps after this one. And then he can actually see what position he will be finishing in. For now, it is P3 with Thomas Lang currently sitting in 4th place. Marcel Biega will be trying to hold off Tim Tornemo no matter what for P5. But that position is quite safe for the men in the Ferrari as we head on to our final 4 laps of the race. There is Thomas Lang gonna have a go on Tom Roberts, or is he? What's he gonna do in turn 1, or is he gonna wait a little bit later? Let's find out. No, he's staying behind nice and patiently, trying to lose as little time as possible to the cars behind, as Pascal Renieri picks up another time penalty as they happily battle for P9.
Yeah, Thomas Lang just doesn't have that straight line speed, so he gains all that time in the final sector and down out of the stadium section, and then just loses it all down the main straight and can't take that advantage. He just has to hope for a mistake, as this is Biega and Bison are going side by side for P7. Bison has the inside line, Biega has the outside. Can he sweep around and retake that position? No, Bison and Biega going round. I think that may have been a mistake from Bison that just drew one out from Biega as well. But both of them going round, not ideal for either of those drivers. Now out of contention for that battle, and Tornemo and Grob now in a 2-car battle for P5. But Biega and Bison will not be happy about that one. Whether there was contact or not, it was surely the battling between the two that cost them that position and cost them all of that time. But we're on to lap 34 or 36. 3 laps left to go in this Mexican Grand Prix, and it's the top 4 that we're going to keep on watching. Goedendorp leading away from D'Ortenzio. Can Thomas Lang get close enough? No, he can't, as Biega is going to come into the pits, as is Bison, probably to retire from the session or to change that front wing. I'm hoping that it's just a simple front wing or tyre change as they both dive into the pit lane and try to switch off of that set of tyres. It's just a clean tyre switch for Biega. What is it for Bison as he comes out of the pits? It's going to be the same. So both of them coming out on a new set of the softs and having no damage as well. They're just going to try and push to the end, take that fastest lap away. So interesting that they both went for that strategy as well. But Bison and Biega now on a new strategy trying to make this one work.
Yep, I think it's smart. They had a big gap to the 3 cars behind, Pascal, Campbell and Brandu. All 3 are coming in as well. They've noticed that that's interesting, actually, that the 2 cars ahead of them have swapped to the softs, and they're like, I don't think so. We're going to try as well. And I think Campbell Adams is a good contender for the fastest lap. He's also having to change his front wing, apparently, because he's been having the pole position, of course. The other cars, in the meanwhile, are coming around again, and they are lapping all 3 cars in the pit lane at the moment for lap 35. That means they all have only a few seconds, almost literally, to get the fastest lap in. Interestingly, Campbell Adams has decided to go for a set of medium tires as opposed to the softs. Not sure why that is. Yellow flag there on the main straight as the Haas car of Pascal Renieri is going really slow. I think the Haas cars are actually working together to tow each other along for the fast lap. So some strategy involved there for the team. And I think that makes Lucas Beisner and Marcel Biega very unhappy because they wanted to go for the fastest lap. But look at this. The battle for the lead is now properly going on with only 1.5 lap to go. It's Angelo D'Ortenzio who goes into the lead of the race. Fascinating to see it happen at long last, even though his medium tires are 15 laps old. He just does it, and through the S's he goes, and then he actually manages to pull away, and it's Kian Goedendorp struggling through the S's, only barely holding Tom Roberts and Thomas Lang behind. What suddenly happened right there, but with 1 lap to go, it's really just 2 cars in this group who can fight for the win. But look at the gap between Thomas and Tim. It's suddenly only become 1.2 seconds. They've gained a load of time due to the fighting going on here in the top 4. Lap 36 is starting right as of now. And now we're going to find out which of Kian and Tom is going to win the race, and if Tim can pull off something magical, and maybe even he can do something. There they go, Kian Goedendorp getting past Angelo, but Angelo is really gonna go defensive right now. What's Kian gonna do about that? Will he defend it hard? He knows he doesn't have to pass Angelo D'Ortenzio to get into the win position of the race, but it is Tom Roberts he has to worry about. He's gonna have to go defenses. There goes Tom Roberts, tries to go around the outside. Kian's got no choice but to dive on Angelo, and there is Thomas Lang trying to tow or throw a spanner in the works on the Englishman there. Tom Roberts is struggling to keep the German behind, but he's gotta do it for the race win. Kian Goedendorp is now pushing the Alpine through the corners. There they go, side by side. How long is this gonna go? Cleanly, somehow. Whoa, Roberts nearly losing control, and there goes the victory. Literally sliding out of his hands. Kian Goedendorp then. Is he worried about a potential penalty removal of Angelo? Probably not, because he doesn't go as aggressive as he could have been. But he's going to try and go around the outside anyway. Everybody locking up, and there's Tim Tornimo out of nowhere. He's found himself suddenly with a possible chance for the podium. Kian Goedendorp is unable to pass Angelo D'Ortenzio. So while Angelo wins on track, it is Kian Goedendorp who takes the win from literally last place. A repeat of Silverstone 2 weeks ago of Angelo's side. He does it today. Tom Roberts comes in second place after a masterpiece of a strategy there to gain himself a podium. Tim Tornimo has made a comeback from 3 seconds down on this group all the way back up into the podium, and Angelo's gonna have to take P4 for granted, at least for now, unless he's certain about certain penalty removals. Thomas Langdon P5, Ryan Gropp P6, Marcel Biega, Lucas Beiser once again fighting, almost taking each other out again, and they finish side by side pretty much with Lucas Beiser in P6, or P8 sorry, and Marcel Biega in P7. Wow, what a finale.
That was an incredible end to what was an incredible race, and well, in the end of it, it was the last to first for Kian, so I think if he's got his POV, we'll be seeing another one of those videos coming out within the next few days. But the Dutchman taking that victory. Tom Roberts in second and Tim Tornimo frauding a podium in P3. There may well be penalty removals. We'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, it's Goedendorp, Roberts and Tornimo. Your top 3, D'Ortenzio, Lang, Grob, Biega, Beisner, Adams, Brandu, and Ranieri, your final finishers, and points finishers as well, with Matteo Blotto, Finn Geerts, Abdullah Balash, Damien Curiel, Alexi Cavero, Giovanni Galeotto, Jacob Strode, Sam Arling, and Louis Welch, your DNFs. But yeah, well, those 11 drivers who finished, they certainly had a spectacle on their hands, especially those top 6 in that late stage.
Yeah, questions being asked. Tom Roberts saying literally, GG, is your penalty removable? And Thomas Lang is like, nah. So, that is interesting. At least Thomas Lang will not get a podium. Let's see what the other drivers... Tom Roberts is now also asking Angelo whether his penalty is removable. We're going to have to wait what happens with that. Either way, it's been a fascinating race tonight. Absolutely brilliant job by all the drivers who have decided to wait it out till the end to see what points they could score. The final 3 were having a good time fighting each other. Marcel Biega and Lucas Beister were not having a great time fighting each other. They just swiped each other and did a nice synchronous spin after turn number 6, which didn't really help them out anyway. So they were going to go for a soft tire strategy. But looking forward, One more week to go, and that means the finale round is coming up, and as it stands right now, it might be an epic championship finale battle indeed. With Luca Rapassa no longer the championship leader as it stands, with Kian Goedendorp scoring a bucket load of points, that means he's going to be the championship leader for sure. Because he was, well, it wasn't untouchable, I wouldn't say that, but he was very strong indeed. As was Angelo, of course, shouldn't forget about him, despite him finishing P4 due to penalties. Either way, Abu Dhabi, April 23rd. Make sure to tune in right then for the finale here in Season 8. From both Joseph and me, thank you so much for watching. Joseph, any last words from you?
Well, I mean, just don't miss that finale, because if it's anything like this race, which I'm sure it will be, we'll be having an incredible title finale on our hands.
And I fully agree. We'll see you all next week, same place, same time. Until then, goodbye.